I want to welcome everyone today. Thank you for being here, and want to also say thank you to all the viewers tuning in live on NBA TV Canada, NBA TV, and any other outlets that are going live. Very happy to announce today a new head coach. It was a long, exhaustive process. Went through quite a few phone interviews. Processed a lot of information, a lot of names came forward. We did our own research and due diligence, and I'm very pleased to announce Dwane Casey as the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors. When I looked at the list of things that we wanted to accomplish, when I talked about the qualities of this young team that we have, talked about a lot of things that are important to bring to the table. I think Dwane embodies a lot of those characteristics that we were looking for, if not every one to a T. I think he's got a great opportunity to really truly connect with this young group. It's an eager group. Jay did do a fantastic job, Jay Triano, our former coach, setting the stage, I believe, for Dwane. But this is a chance for us to focus on some of the things that we've been talking about in terms of building a better defensive program. Dwane obviously comes in with tremendous credentials in that area. He's the chief architect of the world champion Dallas Mavericks. Just put on a tremendous show, stopping the Miami Heat, the Lakers, among others. But everything that Dwane brings to the table in terms of his experience, 16-plus years in the NBA and other parts of the world, he has had some tremendous mentors in his career, starting with Joe B. Hall, Pete Newell, Clem Haskins, George Karl, and most recently Rick Carlisle. There's some great experience there to draw from, not to mention his own NBA head coaching experience, which was an experience in and of itself. But everything that we set out to find, I believe, is sitting right here next to me today. And with that, again, I'd like to introduce Dwane Casey as the next head coach of the Raptors.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the ownership group here in Toronto for the opportunity. Also, Larry Tannenbaum, his wife Judy, who were very gracious in meeting with them and talking with them. Huge, big-time people, big-time ownership group. Most of all, I'd like to thank Brian Colangelo for giving me this opportunity to come in and work with the young team. Brian, across the league, has the utmost respect of everybody in the NBA. And he is one of the main reasons why this job was attractive, along with the young core talent that we have. One thing that I do plan to do here in this upcoming season is help this team develop an NBA defensive identity. And I think that's the number one goal, the number one thought process we'll go in as a coaching group, as a coaching staff with this team. The other thing I want to do is make sure we continue to develop, continue the path that Jay went down. Started with this group. He did a great job of starting that development process. I intend to use Jay as a resource to talk with him, to lean on his shoulders as far as getting information about certain players and that type of thing. So he'll be a part of the group as far as going forward. But I'm excited about this opportunity. There's so many areas that we want to get to work on, develop, improve in. But the number one is creating a defensive identity, creating an atmosphere of hard play. I think that's something that is very, very important in the NBA, is establishing that culture of hard play. Offensively, we're going to play a playoff style of offense, more of a free-flowing offense. I think one thing that helped us a lot in Dallas this season was we didn't call a lot of set plays. It was a free-flowing offense because in the playoffs, in the regular season, teams are so well scouted. It's very hard to get your own shot in those situations because of the intricate defenses and that type of thing. So one thing we want to do is trust the players offensively, play and flow, but the way you earn that, is on the defensive end of the floor. And that's where it starts. I was just talking to DeMar a few minutes ago about that, about what I expect from him and what I believe he can do, and I know he can do because I've watched him as a young man grow in this league to become a superstar. He's on his way to being a superstar. And one area that we're going to get better in and he can get better in is on the defensive end because he has all the tools and attributes to do that. But that's the number one thing I want to emphasize is how hard we want to play and going to play each and every night, and that's something that you can expect from our team.
Zach, people from the fan.
Okay.
Welcome. You talk about playing a more free-flowing style of offense. Are there any added concerns with the fact that you're going to be working with a much younger team in Toronto as opposed to Dallas?
Right. Well, that's a given. Very good core group of young talent, Zach. I think that's one of the attractive things about this team is you do have a good core. And Andrea, DeMar, Jared, even Jose is a young player, and James Johnson. So you got an excellent core group of athletic talent, which fits into that core. Because one thing you want to keep offensively is keep it simple. You don't want to give some intricate type of offense where guys are thinking, where they're having to, well, do I go here? Do I set a screen here? It's got to be natural. It's got to be instinctive. And the style of play we want to play is going to be built on trust from the coaching staff to the players. It's going to be built on the trust that they give us as a staff to make sure we put them in the right position and utilize their skills in the right way. So it's a two-way street, but I think it's the way of the NBA in the future because, again, if you go in and try to play the Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat and go in and try to run set offenses every time down the floor, it's going to be tough. And that's why I say the playoff-style basketball, because in playoff style, you got to have multiple pick and rolls, random play, ball movement, and the number one phrase I like to use is trust the pass. You got to trust the pass. That when you give it up, it's going to find you back. Doug?
Dwane, how would you define an NBA defensive mentality?
A disposition, I think, is a great word to use. A defensive disposition, attention to detail, holding guys accountable from 1 through 13 or how many we have on the roster. Everybody has a job to do. Now, one thing I will say, defensively, I'm going to be a hands-on control freak, so to speak. Offensively, I'm going to trust and give them freedom because the players will know that how important the defense is. And I want to make not only defense make us a tougher defensive team, but I want the defense to be fun. And I was talking to DeMar, and again, here earlier, and it is fun. When you lock people up, when you put your stamp and put your imprint on the game defensively, that's fun. And you can do it in different ways. One-on-one situations, you can zone, you can trap, you can do a lot of different things, but you put your imprint on a game in a physical way. Give you an example, Doug. We, in the playoffs, and I told Brian and the guys this earlier, we spliced in some hockey video with our game because we felt like we were playing too soft against Miami to start the series. And it really set the tone. I don't know a lot about hockey. I know I'll learn about it. But we spliced in those. I got guys checking players up into the window, into the boards, and that type thing. And that's the way we want to play. We want people to make sure they feel us when they cut through the lane, and that's a mindset, and that's having a disposition, a bad disposition when people come through your paint.
Burke's gonna love that, right?
And I've heard so much about this Mr. Burke, so I'm looking forward to meeting him too. I'm sure I will.
You'll hear about him.
Dwane on Raptors.com. Just keeping on the defense topic. When dealing with individual players, do you feel it's a nature or nurture thing when it comes to guys excelling on the defensive end of the court?
That's a good question. I think it's both. I think it's more me making sure I push their nature where they're uncomfortable a little bit and making sure they're doing the job, but it's also my job, too, to nurture them and put my arm around them when they're down because, again, we have a very young team. That's not an excuse. It's a reality. And so that's something I want to make sure that we have a good blend of holding guys accountable, making sure they do their job on both ends, not just on the defensive end of the floor. If a guy's supposed to go set a solid screen, do your job. If a guy's supposed to be a ball mover on the team, knowing his role, do your job. So it's a little bit of both of making sure guys are held accountable and also nurturing at the same time, especially with the young team. We got a fifth pick coming in that's going to be exciting for our franchise. So I think that's an important thing. And again, Jay did a good job of really starting this process. The process is down the road. So I don't want, to just say it's a development process, but it's development at the same time, working toward results.
I mean, you get paid to score points generally.
No question.
What's in the toolkit to motivate players to stop points?
To stop points?
Yeah, to play defense. I mean, that's not where the money is it?
The only thing I can control is playing time. That's the only thing I can control. And our players will know that if they don't do their job defensively, that, their playing time will be sitting next to me and let's talk about it and let's find out why. And again, I don't want to have a hammer and chain and that type of thing. It'll be the player. Our guys will know how it is and how it will go in that situation and what is important, whether it's turnovers or not taking a shot that you're supposed to be taking. I think that's huge to give guys confidence. I'm a big believer on that. If Jose or Andrea or DeMar has a shot that they have and don't take it, that's just as bad as taking a bad shot. So that I want to give them that confidence. And again, I want to make playing defense fun. And because it's something we're going to do in some shape, fashion, or form each and every day, whether it's shoot around, whether it's short practice, long practice, or whatever, there will be a defensive connotation in that practice. But again, the last time I checked, the reason why you win games is scoring. So we're going to put a high premium on that, too. We want to keep the pace, a fast pace, and up-tempo pace with our young team because we have the athleticism and the young legs to do it.
Well, it's Mike Ulmer from Raptors.com. You've had a very lengthy career, as it says in the bio, and you also had that great success coming off the series in the NBA Finals. I mean, that's so fresh. Which one do you think gives you the greatest credibility coming to the players? That great win over Miami or the body of work you have?
I think the body of work. I think the experiences I've had internationally, working and coaching in Japan with Coach Newell is a huge plus. Coaching at the University of Kentucky, Western Kentucky University, working with the different players, George Karl in Seattle, and most recently Rick. All that together has helped me, Jim, as far as developing who I am, what I stand for, what I plan to instill and work with our guys and our staff and everybody and try to implement and put that stamp on our team. Again, every experience has been great for me. Even getting fired in Minnesota was great. I mean, you can't, I don't want to solve sawdust, but it's one of those things where, it was a good experience. I learned from it. I learned what to do and what not to do. So everything you go through in life creates who you are and who I am, and hopefully I can mentor, instill that, and help our young guys in any way possible, on the court and off the court.
Dwane, your name got mentioned with so many jobs over the years. Did you ever keep track? Sorry, Michael, do you ever keep track of the ones you didn't get, and where you ever get discouraged this wouldn't be?
No, just when we played them. Just when we played them, I kept track of them. But no, it's one of those things. It's a business. And same thing in college. College basketball, I was up for a couple of head coaching jobs in college, so I didn't. Everybody has their reasons, and but this situation for me here is a fit. I can't speak for the other teams, all I know is my friend Tom Thibodeau went through the same situation, and everybody has their reasons. And so, but I do know this is a good fit with Brian, ownership group here, the core group of young players you have here is a great fit for me with the Toronto Raptors.
I guess, sorry, Mike Toll from Newstalk 1010. Is Jay Triano going to be part of your coaching staff?
We haven't talked about that, but he'll be a great resource. I mean, as far as his knowledge of the team, his knowledge of the players. His knowledge of Canadian basketball is huge. And I've had the utmost respect for Jay and known him over the years. And so I will use him and I'll pick his brain in every opportunity I can about this team and with this team.
Not going to be an assistant coach, though?
Well, no, we haven't talked about that. No, I have not.
I'll just add that, with respect to the coaching staff, we talked a little bit about process, and a few names, were discussed, but the first decision was hire the head coach and then sift through some of the other details. And obviously, that's going to be Dwane's process. It's going to be something that he runs and drives, and we'll certainly give input. There's a lot of years of experience in the management team here. Myself, Wayne Embry, others that can add to that in terms of flavor for the conversation. But it should be known it's going to be Dwane's decision, and we'll let him drive that.
How much, if at all, would the hiring of Dwane possibly change the drafting philosophy?
Well, obviously, we've recognized some of the weaknesses on the roster, and we've talked about a number of things that we need. Coaching was one part of that. Clearly we talked about defensive mindset. There are a few players in this draft that would address some things defensively, and we'll get to that later. I understand I'm going to take some draft questions in a moment, but again, I think we're looking for a combination, if it's at all possible, best talent, the best fit, and certainly look at some of the areas that we need to address. But we're looking for all things that make good basketball players, and obviously we've got a good young core of talent that we'd like to complement. If there's the right complement out there, great. If it's just even duplicating talent, talent acquisition is important in this business, and maybe that sets you up for different waves of players out on the floor. Maybe it sets you up for different trade scenarios that may come about. But we're looking for, looking to add in the draft a player that addresses several of our needs.
Dwane, Eric Smith from Sportsnet Radio. How would you describe yourself in terms of just as a person, as that relates to how you coach?
Well, I'm a very passionate person. I'm a family man. My wife and daughter would, they get mad at me because I do work so much. But I want to thank her for letting me do that. But I'm passionate about what I do. When we first started at Dallas 3 years ago, we had a veteran team. I'm up, getting on the guys, passionate about the game, calling out directions, calling out guys, during the game in practice. And that's who I am. And, players respect that. I don't do it in a way to embarrass players, but they know how I feel. I wear my feelings of what's going on the court on my shirt sleeve. So I bring that energy every day. I'm a hard worker, is a way I would describe myself. There won't be a coach in this league that would outwork me or our staff. And that's one thing I'm going to demand of our staff, and because I demand it of myself. We should never leave the floor if a player is on the floor. We should never, if a player wants to get extra work in, we should be down there, including myself as a head coach, working with players. I've done that my entire career. It's my 32nd year in coaching, and I intend on continuing to do that from DeMar, Andrea, whoever it is, the last guy on the roster, because that's our charge, is to develop and to win games.
Emotion and wearing on your sleeve. Have you found that veteran players, young players, whoever are as receptive?
It doesn't matter. If a player wants to get better, he accepts it, because I don't do it in a way to embarrass him. I think I have a gift of doing that. If I can yell at Jason Terry and Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Kidd, and I don't let Gary Payton, Sean Kemp go down the line, Kevin Garnett, and I've never done it in a way to embarrass a player. I've never done that, and vice versa. I don't think of a player's ever embarrassed me. So I don't want players to like me. I want players to respect me. And you do that by showing them how hard you work. You bring your work boots and hard hat every day to work, and that's what you get when you get me.
This guy who prides himself on the defensive work, how much are you looking forward to the challenge of bringing up a team that's ranked right at the bottom defensively?
The only way you can go is up. That's a good. But again, it's not something you want to be proud of, but we will get better. I mean, how high we want to go, it depends on how hard the guy's going to work. And we have the talent base. The roster has the talented pieces to get better defensively, and we will. Because I know the guys want to. They're prideful players, and you never want to be last in anything, whether it's being a sports writer or media guy. You never want to be last. So that's the charge we'll have from day one. From day one.
Coach, from the score, what's the emphasis on schemes versus just plain effort?
You start. That's the reason why I said start a culture of hard play. And not saying that they didn't play hard last year. I'm not saying that at all. But that's the culture we want to set, because if you don't, you can have all the schemes in the world. You can have all the intricate offenses and defenses in the world. And the team I just came from is an example of that. If we didn't do it hard, it's just fluff. You can do all the talking you want to. So we got to have a commitment from 1 through 15 of hard play. And it starts with our energy from the coaching staff to the players. I know DeMar. I've worked with DeMar every summer since he's come out of USC. And I've seen how hard he works in the summertime. And so I know what he's going to give me each and every night. And that's what I want to do collectively and be consistent with it. We can't just pick and choose the nights we play hard, because that's something you can control. You can't control when that three-point shot doesn't go in. You can't control that some nights. Some nights you can't hit the side of a barn with a bass fiddle, as Coach Hall used to say all the time in Kentucky. But you can't control how hard you play. And so schemes are going to be secondary, but playing hard is going to be primary.
Dwane, it's Steve Brothers from the Hoops World. It's a young team. There's a lot of expectations. People are looking forward to a defensive coach. How long before we can see the results of your efforts on the floor?
That's a great question. If I had that, I'd be a millionaire if I could predict that. But I promise you that we will start from day one with a defensive approach. And again, we still want to keep that, because this team, Jay did an excellent job with this team offensively. I mean, they're one of the hardest teams to prepare for offensively. Trying to get ready for DeMar and figure out how Sean Marion's going to guard him or Jason Terry was going to guard him was a nightmare. And so offensively, we have the pieces, and it's on us to make sure we continue what Jay started offensively. But defensively is where, from day one is where we'll start. And again, I want the guys to come in and be excited about playing defense. And, I don't want it to come in and be a job, so to speak, to play. But we want to be excited, and we want to make that if we go to Oklahoma City, if we go down to Boston, we go down to New York, we have confidence in our defense, and that comes from working hard on it every day and making sure we do what we're supposed to do each and every day.
Shaquille again from Raptors.com. A name you mentioned earlier, Tom Thibodeau. Both him and yourself are highly regarded coaches, and you kind of known as defensive guys. So you just mentioned it's not too much about scheme and more about getting the guys to play at a high level. So what is it about you two guys? Is it something you learned that made you guys the ability to be such great defensive coaches? It's not about scheme. It's more about your ability to motivate, to respect you guys for the players. What did you guys grasp onto? What idea did you guys get that allowed you guys to excel at that?
As goes back to experience, the body of work over the years, whether it's in college, Seattle, whatever. And I've had a lot of examples to go from Tim Gergerich from Seattle, just watching him work with players at the University of Kentucky, just watching how coaches work with players. I feel like that's a gift of working with guys and getting them to motivate, finding out what guys can do and can't do. But I want to emphasize what guys can do more so than what they can't. We want to work on what they can, but we don't want to dawn on it, because they're our guys. They're our guys. Whatever warts we have, they're our warts, and we're going to work on them together. So it's just something over the years that I've always done. Try to take a guy who wants to work. Brendan Haywood this year, and Brendan's going to get mad at me for saying this, but couldn't make a free throw to save his life, but we would stay after practice for hours and every day before shoot-around and just work on his free throws, So if it's up to me to give the players my time and my effort, my knowledge, and give to them, and it's a partnership with the players, working with them, and that's all I've done all my life, and that's all I found, that every player, whether it's a superstar, Hall of Famer, a rookie, wants is a coach to take interest and to work with him and have his career and his future at heart.
How similar would you take the Toronto situation to your first head coaching experience in Minnesota?
We had, in Minnesota, it was interesting because they were kind of teetering whether they had just come from a conference final. They didn't re-sign Sam Cassell and Sprewell, so it was kind of an in-between situation. This team here has more athletic talent than that team did, you know, as far as young, but it's younger. That team had, you know, middle-of-the-road, older players. KG was, you know, not sure whether he wanted to be there, whatever the situation was, but it's a different team. This is a younger team, more athletic team. I enjoyed my time with the guys at Minnesota. We worked at it, and we were going in the right direction. If I remember correctly, we were 20-20 when I was relieved with the charge of thinking that we were supposed to be conference champions. So, but again, it was a great experience there in Minnesota.
You know, the night that Dwane and the Mavericks and the rest of the staff there won the championship, I got a call at like 1:30 in the morning, and normally the phone rings at 1:30. I'm a little coherent. This particular night I had just gotten back from Europe, and I was pretty much knocked out. And I looked at the phone, and it said, Rick Carlisle. It's 1:30 in the morning, and they just literally must have walked out of the building. A few beers and a few glasses of champagne later, I'm sure. But Rick Carlisle said, Brian, I want to know what it's going to take to get Dwane that job in Toronto. It's right for him. It's right for you. It's right for the situation. You need to strongly consider it. And I said, Rick, first of all, congratulations. You know, you should be enjoying yourself, not promoting your guys. So the note here is that he comes with exceptional support from people in very high places. Obviously, Rick was either trying to get rid of you or support you. And I got a similar call a couple days later from Tim Gergerich, who I have a lot of respect for, who worked with me in Phoenix. And, you know, the calls and the support from people even outside of the Dallas Mavericks organization, including a call recently from Mark Cuban after he knew our intentions. There's a lot of people that are rooting for Dwane to do well here. They think it's the right time. Again, it's a body of work that has prepared him for this situation. And I think, as Dwane said it best, this is the right fit for Dwane Casey, and it's the right fit for the Toronto Raptors organization.